day and welcome. Our guest today is actress, performer, television host, and jazz artist, winner of Best Jazz Artist from Alberta Recording Industry, Best Broadcast Performer of Tomorrow through BC Association of Broadcasters, and Best Weather Presenter from Alberta Motion Picture Association. You may recognize her from one of her performances in The Sandlot, Heading Home, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Watchmen, The Twilight Saga, Cats and Dogs, Revenge of Kitty Galore, The Search for Santa Paws, Final Destination 5, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Home Invasion, Death Note, Alaska Daily, Supergirl, Van Helsing, iZombie, or from Breakfast Television, where she's performed as a weather person, an anchor reporter, and a storyteller. Perhaps you've heard this very talented person perform jazz or listened to one of her albums, Under the Covers, or New Chapters for an Old Book. Please welcome a television veteran with over 23 years of on-air experience, someone who's hosted cooking and real estate shows, with over 35,000 hours of live television in major media markets. Please welcome Dawn Chubai. Dawn, thank you so much, and welcome, and your patience for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah, and you only missed one. You only missed, not of the movies, but more recently, I was a host on Canada's only TV home shopping network. So I'm sure we have a lot of people that have been shopping, but you did really well. It's a good list.
And that's the shopping channel, right?
That's right. Yeah, TSC is the more sort of modern term for it. But yes, the shopping channel. And as a matter of fact, you can now update your bio to include that I've most recently gone off on my own ventures. But we'll get to that a little bit later.
Fabulous. Dawn, I want to dive into it with you. What made you pursue a career in front of the camera?
It's funny, I just literally fell into it. I actually got my first gig in 1999 in Edmonton on the morning show there after years of performing my jazz music, which all my gigs or my albums you mentioned there. And one day they asked me if I would audition to be the Canadian weather girl. It's really the term they use now, but that they asked me to audition. And with zero experience, but a willingness to learn and people that were willing to teach me. That started what would become a 23-year and now counting career in front of the camera in all its different forms.
So I want to ask you, if you didn't fall into this career, what do you think you'd be doing?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was never a really great student. I was somebody who kind of thought, oh, maybe I'll, get a job in social work. I did some volunteering with some, different organizations, and that kind of didn't really appeal to me as much. Performance, I think, was probably where I was going to be headed, which is, when I started my jazz group, that was sort of where I was going at. But, honestly, I really didn't know. I was a public relations officer for a nursing association prior to getting into television. And so, I kind of was one of those people, and I think I still, up until this very moment, have been one of those people where someone said, hey, you'll be good at something. And then I go, okay, let me go be good at that without without a lot of forethought. And so that's kind of what I've been doing up until this point. I just kind of faked it till I made it.
I love that. Now, when you discovered this world of acting, how do you think that helped shape your understanding of yourself and as a performer?
I'm going to just put it out there because when you sit there and if someone searches Dawn Chubai, you'll find this long list of IMDb. You'll find out that I worked at TSC. You'll find out that I, hosted breakfast television for years. But I fell into the acting world, really doing something that is very natural to me, which is playing myself, meeting somebody in front of the camera playing for. So don't kid yourself. I mean, I might be in, with credits with Tom Cruise and, Bill Pullman and all sorts of people, Keanu Reeves. But the reality is I often been in a separate room, maybe in a green screen, maybe sometimes holding a microphone to them, playing a reporter or a news anchor. So I'm not going to let my head get too big, but it's pretty cool to be on the credit list with some of those big stars, with some of those top earning blockbuster films.
That's really neat. I love the openness of it, where it's a lot of the time it's a green screen or you're behind a swamp and you're just doing your job as a reporter reading the script that they've given you to do. I love the
Life
transparency.
imitating art, imitating life, right? Life imitating art, imitating life.
So when we look at this industry, even as a host of your experience as a host, is there anything with your 23 years experience, your 35,000 hours and more coming? Is there anything that just kind of scares you, kind of puts a little bit of a spine chill in you about this industry?
Well, I mean, I think the industry certainly is evolving. I mean, you take news media and, the way media itself has changed, and frankly, the way media has been defined. I wouldn't say it's scary, but I think one of the things it's always good to have front of mind, especially if someone is looking at getting into the industry of news media, is that it is evolving. People that are out on the streets with their phone now can become, or at least believe they are media, and that's not always the case. So I think things like being well researched and doing your due diligence, is super important. And to understand too, as somebody who may be interviewed by media, even like someone like, you're interviewing me, for instance, to recognize that that reach can sometimes even be bigger than traditional media, to take that responsibility very seriously, make sure that you do your due diligence and you do your research and what you put out there, even with what traditionally was not considered media, still can have a profound impact on the people that are hearing it or reading it, and how it affects their daily life as well.
That's kind of the whole don't believe everything you read on the internet. You still have to put your due diligence in and go through it, of course.
Yes. You're better at condensing it. Everyone I know says I talk too much, which I mean I get paid to talk, so it's just not by the minute. So I should learn to condense it more. Well done, Christopher.
Well, thank you for that. No, I'm told I'm long-winded as well, so that's okay. But I do have a question for you. When someone approached you and said, "Hey, I think you'd be good at this," and you started down this path, what kind of fears or insecurities did you have to overcome to really go through it? Like my guess is going to be we're very similar of, "Hey, let's go ahead and see what happens." Sure, worst thing that happens, I'm not that great. Best thing, had the great time of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that sort of the things that maybe, I guess, maybe intimidated me in the beginning is the fact that I didn't go through all of the hoops and educational, checklists that everybody else did, like going to something like BCIT or NATE in Alberta or any of the broadcasting. And I remember sort of, it's now they have a word for it or a term. They call it like imposter syndrome, right? Back when I was young, that didn't exist, right? We did use the term "fake it till you make it," and in an industry like news, or where your credibility, is paramount to whether people will trust in what you say and tune in, and the reputation of the station comes into play. I mean, that probably gave me the most fear, but I was fortunate in that I had really good mentors. I mean, certainly doing the weather was a really great entryway. I mean, some of the most famous people in the world, David Letterman, was a weather guy. The pressure was off a little bit more. I wasn't reporting hard news stories. And frankly, that was never really anything that I would have even been drawn to, because I like happy, shiny people. I like bringing good news. And yeah, I mean, a rainy day isn't good for a golfer, but at the end of the day, it wasn't ever really truly life and death for the most part on anything I would do. So I think that was probably the biggest fear, is that imposter syndrome and worrying about what people think. And I mean, I still do that. I think it's hard for anybody to imagine what it takes to stand in front of a camera and just be open to criticism. And when you're actually doing it, I still worry what people think. But the older you get, the more experienced you get, the more you kind of carve your own path. At least my experience is that it's not that I don't care what people think. It's just I'm not going to let what they think stop me from doing. Because of course I care. You're lying if you say you don't care what people think, but it doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do.
I love that. Just got to keep pushing through, and doing something is better than sitting in the cheap seats and booing down the team, of course. So
Bam, bam. That's it, Christopher.
so when we talk about these fears, in your experience, is there a memorable or challenging performance or news that you had to cover where it just kind of still hangs with you today of saying, "Ooh, that's really something that just stuck with me"?
Well, so I would say it was something that was like, oh my gosh, you know, earth shattering, but it was a pretty important time. And now, of course, I'll never remember the year because, of course, my mind becomes mush. But Hurricane Sandy, I happened to be in New York when it was happening, and we were staying at the New York Athletic Club, which was sort of, if you watched any of the news coverage at the time, like there was this crane that was dangling and hanging. And it was a pretty dangerous time there. I was working for Breakfast Television at the time, and my word got out that I was actually in New York during Hurricane Sandy. Started getting all the news outlets. I mean, they were writing to CNN or to CNN obviously CNN had their own people, but to report from their studios. I was interviewed by the Edmonton Sun, News 1130, 680 News. Basically, anybody that was in Canadian media was reaching out to me because they knew that I could handle, the broadcast portion. And a lot of it was on radio and print at that point because it was just too hard to get cameras. But I would say there was a lot of pressure with that because, yes, I was, not only a previous weather presenter, but at that point I was a host of breakfast television. So I'm tapping into kind of the weather expertise, but I was becoming, in this instance, like a serious on the spot news reporter, which I play a lot on TV in those movies you rattled off. But in my day-to-day life, it's a totally different demeanor. The fact checking, the getting the information. It was a lot of pressure, but it was an experience that, again, when someone says, we trust that you can do this, so I just go and do it. And that would be something for my, checklist of things. Wow, never thought I'd have the opportunity to do it, and I'd be grateful not to have that opportunity again because it was a very serious weather and world incident. But I was proud of myself that I was able to do it, and proud that people thought I could and that I didn't disappoint them.
I like that it keeps coming back to that. Hey, Don, I think you're going to be really good at this. Let's go do it. And, just that trust that people have that you're able to. I really, that's fabulous. Now, beyond your acting career, beyond your breakfast on television, the TSC, and all these wonderful things, some people might know this, but you're actually a very accomplished jazz vocalist. What was this drive to grab that microphone and sing?
Well, so you can probably guess this one. First of all, to backtrack, that it was the singing that got me into the television, which was great. So the question, what got me into the singing? I was one of those neighborhood kids whose mom, would set up the stage in the backyard and everyone would come, and Dawn and her trio would do a backyard concert. Mom would have the lemonade and all of that. Over the years, then I would do like the community musical theater. And, I did belong to a band that would perform at weddings. But I, at one point, was working for this nursing association, and a friend of mine was an entrepreneur, and he was opening up a restaurant. And his idea was that he was going to do jazz on Monday nights. And he didn't know any entertainers, but he knew that this girl he worked with was a singer. So he says to me, oh, so, you're a singer, right? And I said, yeah, yeah. And he goes, you probably have like a jazz group or something. I said, oh, yeah. Someone said I'd be good at it. So I went and been good at it. And I did that gig for several years. And that kick-started my jazz career. Recorded 2 albums, got my, Alberta Recording Industry Association Award. I went to Korea, represented Alberta at the International Travel Expo as part of Alberta Days. And that's how I got into it. So the trend continues, Christopher. You tell me what I'll be good at next, and I'll just go do it. I hope I have the skills. And if not, I'll learn how to do it.
So I want to ask you, what is it that draws you to singing? What is it about jazz specifically as a genre that you just, and I've listened to your albums, you're amazing. It's beautiful. It's why that genre?
Well, and let's be clear. I'm not like one of those master jazz vocalists. I'm not going to do the like scoodle wow wow, I can't even fake it. That's the one thing you can't make me do well. But I've always enjoyed the jazz genre, in particular, like the church songs, or even like the swing tunes, like the Ella Fitzgerald, the Billie Holiday, the Diana Krall, of course, all based on a lot of those great classic singers, the Nancy Wilson, for instance. Just always loved the listenability of it, sometimes the danceability of it. It was that kind of music also that drew me to perform with the Dal Richards Orchestra, who, died several years ago, one of, Canada's greatest and ordered Canada band leaders. But I just always loved that it doesn't seem to matter what generation someone falls into. They either have an affinity for that kind of music, or they love a style of music that was based on those original kinds of tunes. So I think it's a bit of a universal appeal, especially with the kind of jazz that I enjoy.
Now, where can people find your jazz? I was on YouTube. Can we get it on all of our major streaming
Yeah,
platforms?
streaming. Yep, Spotify. I back in the day when I was still gigging, which I'm not anymore, I would sell my CDs off of the stage and all of that. But just nowadays you just stream it. You can stream it for free. I think I get 0.001 cents out of each. It's nothing, but that's not why I do it. I wanted to record the albums. You can get them on Apple Music, and of course, you can purchase the albums if you want. But if you can stream it for free, I've even put them on YouTube with some just basic background. Do that. I mean, life's about enjoying what's out there. I mean, I'm not making any money off of it. I just hope you enjoy it.
Well, especially at 0.0001 cents.
And there might even be another zero in there, Christopher. I don't even think it's that much.
So, Don, outside of music and outside of acting and being on television, what else do you pursue that contributes to your personal and creative growth?
Well, I sort of alluded to it at the beginning. I was with Rogers Media, who was Breakfast Television and TSC for 19 years, and that was a pretty big thing. And after 19 years, decided to move forward along with, obviously my husband moving back to Vancouver, but also in the next progression of what I believe my career to be. And for the first time, I did something that someone didn't suggest to me that I'd be good at
Oh,
and do it. I did something that I knew in my heart was my passion and my calling. And I knew in my heart that I would be a really great teacher. And I always have been. So not a teacher don't be signed up for my, classes at the next high school, but I've done media training for the last 15 years. I always did it as part of my, entrepreneurial sort of endeavors with my media training chefs and book authors and fitness professionals. But I decided to expand my media training to include live selling. So you can find me at livesellingschool.com. I just launched this whole company recently, but it's been long in my mind. And the basis of it, Christopher, is live stream shopping. And if there's anyone watching and going, what is live stream shopping? Is it like online shopping? Kind of, but it's different than that. If you Google it, you'll learn that in China, it's been huge since something like, 2016. And this year to the tune of $436 billion in China, not that big in Canada or the US, but projection by 2025 in the US, 57 billion. And so as somebody who has, sold items to people on television for years and all based on techniques that have been mastered and honed by TV home shopping networks around the world for the last 40 years, I thought, you know what? There are live stream shopping events that are happening right now by brands who need hosts, and I can teach people to do what I did. And that's what I did. So livesellingschool.com is where people can find me. I've got a free ebook that's on there to just explain what live stream shopping is, where your place as an influencer or brand ambassador might fit. And then coming soon, a course, a masterclass essentially, how to master the art of live stream shopping, a way for brand ambassadors and influencers to level up their influence, their
wow.
demand, and their earnings.
That is amazing. I'm
I
going to be
hope
the
so.
first one to say it. I think you're going to be good at this. Uh, so there you go.
Did I sell you on it, Christopher? That's the
I
question.
might be sending an email or two for sure.
All right.
And Don, where can people learn more about you? Are you on social medias? Where can we Google you?
All over. At Don Chubai on all social media. And if you are, and listen, I mean, it's a very targeted audience for Live Selling School, but if you are that person that wants to know about that, you can follow me certainly at Don Chubai, but also at Live Selling School.
Awesome. And Don, what do you believe is something that people tend to misunderstand about you the most?
I think and I wouldn't say that it's just about me. I think in general, people that are shiny, happy people, I like to think that I exude a positive energy. But, listen, I have the same fears as anybody else. I have the same insecurities as anybody else. And I work really hard. And I know sometimes and this again with everybody, not just me, when you come across as confident and doing well at whatever it is you're doing, I think people think it just comes easy. And of course it doesn't. The people that are good at their jobs often make it look really easy, but a lot of work goes into what I do and what you do certainly as well, Christopher. Obviously, the amount of research to do an interview like this and what you do with lots of people, over coffee. Just that we're people. We're people like anyone else. And so I would think that that's the thing that I would say is important to remember.
Well put. And Don, if you had a magic wand, what is something that you would change about the world starting tomorrow?
Acceptance. I would absolutely just say to people, if it doesn't affect you directly, why do you care what other people are doing? Thinking, I mean, obviously taking out the extremes in the world. I'm just talking in general. Trolls be gone. I would
Mm.
say quit trolling people in life and on social and just worry about yourself and worry about other people in a very humane way. But if it doesn't affect you directly, mind your own business. That's what I would say.
Before the internet, trolls were under a bridge and you had to wait for someone to come in front of you before you could do anything. Maybe that's where they should go back to.
Yeah. Too, like and just elaborate too. And I think if you can do something to help others that aren't as empowered, that's also important. So the mind your own business is more mind your own business if you're going to be mean. But if
Mhm.
you have a way to help people, other people's business can be a part of your business. So it's a bit swayed depending on the way you look at it.
Well, that's fair. And Don, I have time for one last question for you here is what makes Don Chubai smile?
Oh gosh. I would just say that's the one. You said one was going to throw me. Oh, the one thing that makes me smile. I would say waking up and feeling like I have something to contribute. And when I succeed in that and contribute, whether it's making someone smile or teaching someone something new or brightening their day, it absolutely makes me smile. So helping better other people or making other people feel great is something that makes me smile if I know that I've participated in one small way.
That is absolutely fabulous. And that's all the time I have for you today on Coffee with Chris. Thank you so much for your time, John. This is amazing. Everyone, please get to Google and social media, find Dawn Chubay, look her up, get on her site for liveselling.ca,
No, lifestylengschool.com.
livesellingschool.com. My apologies. This has been Coffee with Chris. Remember to smile to inspire and have a fantastic day, everyone. Thank you.